Good morning, good afternoon and good evening, and welcome to Digicode Productions. My name is Sean. Right, there's a reason that we're standing outside a pan-European supermarket like Lidl. Apart from the fact that Lidl provide great goods and services at a really good price, they're a pan-European organisation, and we want to talk about a pan-European issue, i.e. Marine Le Pen and Mr. Macron in the French presidential election. And cut. Now, we've been doing a lot of research in the last 10 days on the election, and we've discovered something that we think is going to be a major factor, okay? Internal tourism in France. Now, we've done our research, to say the very least, and what we've come across is something that's very, very interesting, okay? 296 million trips for the entire population, 67 million people living in France. That's 4 trips on average per person. Now, the election is on May the 7th. What do the French do on May the 5th? That's go on holidays. It's one of their 4 trips on average each year. Now, question. What sort of effect is that going to have on the 2 candidates' votes? And the answer is, we happen to know that most of, 90% of Le Pen's voters will actually stay put and they will vote. However, there will be a big effect on Macron voters. We estimate that some 30%. Now, it may not be that high, but our estimates are looking at about 30% of Macron's voters may travel, in which case they will be travelling away from their polling stations. Cut. Okay, now, we happen to know that in the case of Macron, what's going to happen is that up to 30% of his vote is going to travel. Now, they won't be able to vote, they'll be away from their polling stations. If this is so, what will be the effect on his vote? Now, Serge Gallem, eminent mathematician and sociologist in France. He's run some calculations. We've covered this before. You can see the other videos on our YouTube site where we've explained this out in VideoScribe. But let's put it like this. If 90% of the people who vote for Marine Le Pen actually do so, but only 62% of those who said they will vote for Macron do so, then Marine Le Pen will win the election by 51%. Now, we know that at least 30% of those that will be on internal tourism may be the ones that will have the biggest effect. But there is another factor, and this other factor may account for the other 8%, which would bring it down to 62%. Now, this other factor, it's really important. About 3 months ago, we happened to know that Marine Le Pen was actually running in the region of 32% against Macron's 27%. So we know that the support is out there for her. It's just a question of what influences are brought to bear. Now, the stats are all here, okay? It's in black and white. These are numbers from the French Interior Ministry. So, how big is this effect going to be in terms of, right now, you have some 45% of the electorate who are deciding who to vote for the first time. They haven't actually considered voting either for Macron or Le Pen up till now. The wisdom of what's happening from the French pollsters is that the vast majority of these will vote for Macron. However, here's the nub of it. I wouldn't be so sure. I wouldn't be so sure at all. Okay, the French polling system is, according to our research, it is a quota system that they use. They have to use a quota system. That's the law. Now, there's a few problems with the quota system. It is A, heavily dependent on the questions that the pollsters are asking them, and it B, is very difficult to extrapolate across a larger sample. So in other words, they can be highly inaccurate. The polls in 2002 were completely off the beam. They were up to 18% out. So there is no guarantee that the current polls are actually reflecting what people are going to vote. The problem is this: if you are a Republican and you are actually considering voting for Le Pen for the first time, are you honestly telling me that you are going to admit that to a survey pollster? I don't believe it for a second. And here's another thing. The only other person up there is the business party, Macron. Are you honestly going to think that the pollsters are going to be asking people on their survey lists, are you going to vote for the business party? Are you going to vote for Le Pen? Are you going to give the answer that is honestly in your mind, in your heart? I don't know if you would. You're a Republican, you're far left, you're centrist. You've never voted for these people before. There are huge ranges for inaccuracy. Okay, we've run the numbers. We've run the best calculations, the most probable calculations that we believe will actually happen. Now here's the problem. The quota system, which runs the French polls, is not a probability system. Okay? It's an exact measure. So we don't think the right questions are being asked. Okay, so here's our prediction. Marie Le Pen wins by 51.2%, and Macron does not become the president of France. That is our prediction. Thank you very much.